Yeah, I'm here with a great friend of mine, a UFC Hall of Famer, as well as, in my opinion, the greatest broadcaster ever to go from the cage to the broadcast booth, and UFC World Champion, World Welterweight Champion, coming off of beating the hell out of a man 20 years junior who had already defeated CM Punk. Croatian sensation, Pat Milicic. Pat, how are you doing on this beautiful Sunday afternoon?
I'm doing good, man. I just spent over a week with different days spending time with my oldest daughters who are attending universities in the southern part of the United States. And so that was really nice to hang out with them for the first time on their campuses in, a couple of years, really. So it was great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we both have daughters that are student athletes. My daughter's in her early 20s, done with school, but she was a great gymnast and did some wrestling and grappling. She was really good up until she got to the age where she became more of a woman, at 13, 14 years old. But she continued with the competitive cheer and gymnastics. And another guy that's a great athlete, man, a beast, is running for president, is independent, Bobby Kennedy. And I just wanted to ask you, Pat, how did you find out about Bobby?
How did I find out about Bobby? I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, I've obviously, researched a lot of the Kennedy family and a lot of their history and things like that. So, knowing the Kennedys is like knowing a single leg takedown for me. I mean, this is something that I've been into for most of my life, certainly most of my adult life. Even back when I was fighting in the UFC, I was into history and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, knowing who Bobby Kennedy Jr. is pretty easy for me.
Yeah, man. And, I say, and I've said for a long time, poly is many and ticks are blood-sucking insects. I've never been a fan of politics, be it of the neoliberals or the Ziocons. But what drew me to Bobby was that he stands up against the military-industrial complex. He stands for against Big Pharma, and he's been pretty courageous in talking about how his own father and uncle passed away and were murdered. And he talks about exposing the CIA, and that's really what the thing that drew me to Bobby was listening to him on some of the podcasts like Joe Rogan.
Yeah, no, he's imagine growing up being Bobby Kennedy Jr. and the things that he's seen, the things that he's learned about. There's some pretty dark recesses of our government's history, to say the least, right? And global government.
Absolutely. And he's fearlessly tackled those things. I've got Bobby going out to a UFC coming up in the next couple months. We can't disclose publicly which one, obviously, for safety reasons. And that's another thing. Bobby's the only one that doesn't have Secret Service. And I don't know if you saw, there was another attempt on his life at his house just a couple days ago. It's crazy.
Well, I mean, anytime you're opinionated, and certainly with a name like a Kennedy, you're going to attract people, whether they're just mentally not stable or being paid to be there. I would think the ones who are paid to be there are probably not going to get caught. That's generally how it works. But, either way, he's got I would hope that he's got a pretty hefty protection detail that surrounds him.
Well, that's what he's talked about. Is it's insane that he's not given Secret Service protection, given the fact that he's the only candidate running that's not, and the history of his family. But they're trying to bleed him out, making him pay for his own security, which is nuts, man. And I just want to say that I've got Bobby also going out to some camps that Jake Shannon runs, and we're looking at putting together one in Iowa and getting you guys together, man. I wrote a pretty humorous commercial for Bobby that I shared with you, the pro wrestling commercial that hopefully will be coming out soon. But man, yeah, I mean, it's a crazy time, isn't it? In with this coming election in 2024.
It's going to get nothing but nuttier, and we knew it was going to get crazy. 2016, we knew it was going to get crazy. 2020, and that's the thing is, Americans have become so, I guess, manipulated, to say the least. Divided in every way possible. Now you look at the latest division with the Palestinian-Israeli situation. It's a never-ending thing. This is deliberate. It's always by design. They don't do this stuff by accident. So they'll continue to do this, and I just hope that Americans can see through it. And Kennedy running as an independent, is a good thing, because I've, to be honest with you, I've stepped away years ago now from the political scene, just because, in the Washington, D.C. element, the corporation of the United States, politicians don't get in trouble. They don't go to prison. They're not being prosecuted for even treason. So for me, it's a little bit difficult to even discuss politics anymore without discussing treasonous acts at the same time. Both left and right at this point, have gotten out of hand. So I agree with Kennedy on many things. I agree with him on what's happening to the soil. The condition of American soil that's been poisoned for over 4 decades now, unwittingly many times by the agriculture world with synthetics. That's really the original core of our health issues. What's happening to our soil, killing the water, synthetic chemicals, heavy metals, and then so you're environmentally poisoned, and then pharmacologically they top it all off, right? So I agree with Bobby Kennedy wholeheartedly on his stance on all of that, because really, and I'll argue this with pretty much anyone, that synthetic chemicals and heavy metals and destruction of the gut bacteria, cellular and mitochondrial function is literally the source of all forms of Americans' inflammation, which they call disease, right? So it's systemic. 70% of Americans are now on at least one synthetic chemical, what they call medicine. 50% of Americans are on 4 or more. And we're so far past the epidemic that, I don't know what wakes people up at this point, but at least Bobby's talking about it on a show like Joe Rogan and other things like that. So millions of people are starting to wake up.
Yeah, Pat, and Bobby also, he was vaccine injured with his vocal cords. And we've got world-class athletes like Kyle, who's a world champion, who is testifying at the Senate about his own vaccine injury, and Aaron Rodgers as well, that have joined and endorsed Bobby. And he's the only one that's talking about it. I mean, I say this about Trump to a lot of Trump fans. I say, Trump was kind of a sheep in wolves' clothing because he was pushing the vaccine. And Bobby's also called him out for shutting down our economy and surrendering it largely to to Dr. Fauci. So those are the things that really resonate with me. I also don't agree with Bobby on everything, but I say this: if you agree with anyone all the time, you're not thinking for yourself. And this is an important point. Bobby is a huge free speech advocate, and free speech is under attack in our country now, as you know, through largely through big tech.
Yeah, and when we think about it, I was talking to an actual constitutional attorney. I won't mention his name, but he is running for Senate, who has won many lawsuits against the FDA and other large entities within the government. But I said to him, listen, the way I see it is, the social media giants, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, well, really, ultimately, they were started with government funds, and they continue to get massive government subsidies pretty much every year. So when they suppress free speech, technically it's the government suppressing free speech through their proxies. That's their form of proxy war against the First Amendment, just like the proxy war in the Ukraine, proxy war in Israel and Palestine, and many other proxy wars that we've conducted. So the fronts of warfare are not kinetic alone. Physical warfare, bombs and missiles and things like that. Warfare can be waged financially, psychologically, chemically, biologically, all these different means. And that's all being used right now on American citizens. And, it would be nice if Americans would not only wake up to it, which I think there's a large number of people that are waking up to it, but who will actually say something about it, stand up for their children. Because ultimately, if somebody kicked in your front door and was going to shoot your children, you'd jump in front of the gun. At least most men would, I would hope, and most mothers. Some, would not. But that's what's happening, right, to our children's futures.
Absolutely.
They're being destroyed. They're going to be in a pretty bad predicament if American citizens don't stand up. And I just got another message today. Somebody said, a good friend of theirs, 44 years old, had one of the what we call the boopity boops, and had heart surgery yesterday, blockages in their arteries all over the place, not just around the heart. And they know exactly what caused it. And they thanked myself and my co-host, Jeffrey Wilson, for all the work that we did over all the years and helping to wake at least some people up to all of these things that have been going on and try to help people prepare for kind of what was coming. So, it feels good to get those types of messages. It's very humbling, but at the same time, it's a little bit heartbreaking because, things are happening to a lot of people physically. Their health is deteriorating quickly, and mental health, all on all fronts right now. So we just need people to stand together, man, because the less people that stand up, distributes the weight upon those that do stand up in a way that can be unbearable at times, to be honest with you. And so the more people stand up, the easier it is for us to support each other and push back against this ridiculous narratives and the abuse, the systemic abuse that's been going on in this country.
Absolutely, Pat. And the last time you and I were together for one of these was sadly mourning the passing of my good friend and both of our former broadcast partner, the American Psycho, Stephen Bonner. Since then, we lost my best friend in the world, Laurent Pinchot, all suspecting to do with the Shah, the jab, as they call it, and two truly world-class athletes. And it's really sad. And, we know that war is a racket in the Middle East, in Ukraine, but also the war that took place against the middle class, the American middle class with CoronaCon that I talked about on your show in 2020 with Jeffrey Wilson, Conspiracy Farm. And I kind of want to wrap this up with just saying this about Bobby. Bobby is the only one that's talking about that and that's saying that will never happen and that's calling Trump. So we have a very interesting election coming up, man. And I want to thank you for your time here on this beautiful Sunday, Pat. And is there anything else you've got going on that you want to discuss?
No, you know what? I'm just focused on building, my product line, Super Soldier, and then a lot of soil reclamation and agriculture stuff we've got going on. I've partnered with Dr. Will Spencer on one of my product substances, the humic fulvic, that he is greatly assisting because he's one of the top humic experts in the country. And he himself, being a humic expert of 40 years, said this is the most incredible substance he's seen in terms of humics. And then the number one humic fulvic expert in agriculture in the world, who's in France, said that this is it is the premier. So we're excited. It heals soil, heals plants, and it can be used for livestock. And then a more refined version can be used for humans to really do a lot of positive things, cellular for the cells, the mitochondria, and the gut biome. And so I'm excited. A lot of good things are happening to a lot of people, and so that's what this is all about: heal the earth, heal humans.
Awesome. Well, Pat, thank you for your time. It looks like you've got the American Civil Peace flag on your shirt there, and I want to say peace to everyone. These are crazy times, and the true peace candidate here, the only one really, is Bobby in this upcoming election. So, Pat, I want to thank you for your time, and everybody enjoy your Sunday.